All right, guys, welcome back to the Outsiders podcast. We are here joined live by Ricky Siglar, big number 66. You remember from that Chiefs offensive line back in the early to mid-90s. Ricky, welcome. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate it, my man.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, Ricky, we wanted to have you on. I'll tell you what, you had a kind of a different journey to the NFL, and that's kind of where I wanted to start because you started out at a junior college in Arizona and then at San Jose State. Tell us how you wound up in the NFL with the 49ers in 1990 from a smaller school like San Jose State.
Well, actually, my studies began a little bit before 1990. It was actually 1989. And, I had a little bit of an early exit from college from San Jose State. Long story, won't bore you with the details. But I was still had a year of eligibility left. Had a coach, he actually was a linebackers coach that got a position with the Raiders, and told me that, he might be interested in taking me in the supplemental draft, and so I kind of got myself eligible for that, and I was never drafted by the Raiders, and so I found myself out of, not playing football, kind of got a little job doing a couple things, and there was a gentleman who befriended me, actually was an agent. He had read about my situation in the paper, and told me that, he had some contacts in the NFL, and, asked if I still wanted to play. I said, of course I do. It's always been a lifelong dream. So, we went through a series of working out and preparing, and we went up to the Shrine Game practice that they had up at Stanford, and they had a scout there from Dallas Cowboys, and that he knew, and the guy kind of gave me a little workout and liked what he saw, and said he'd like to fly me out to Dallas for a formal tryout. So I flew to Dallas, which was a dream come true. I grew up a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I just remember watching them on Sundays, and always wanted to play for the Cowboys. So this was kind of like a highlight for me. And I went out there and did a formal tryout, and they liked me, and they signed me to a free agent contract. And I hate to show my age, but Tom Landry was still the head coach there. And
oh, wow.
A couple of guys are still around that I watched growing up. Too Tall Jones and Danny White and Tom Rafferty and a couple of guys, so I was just ecstatic about the whole ordeal, and, that's the year they fired Tom Landry and brought in Jimmy Johnson and his crew, but, long story short, kind of, went through the training camp, off-season, the whole deal, and, got cut the last cuts, and a couple weeks later, my agent got a hold of me and said, hey, the Raiders are interested, so I flew this is when they were in L.A., I flew there and worked out for them, and they wanted to sign me, and I was ready to sign the dotted line, and my agent called me up and said, hey, don't sign with them. We want to fly you up to San Francisco. They want to look at you. So flew back to the Bay, and which I was living at the time, and then worked out for San Francisco. And so, essentially two teams interested in me. And I just told my agent, whoever was offering the best deal, that's fine. So I ended up with San Francisco, and that was my rookie year, 1989. And we won the Super Bowl. So that was kind of my journey into the NFL. So there's a whole lot of details. If I ever write a book, you can read it. Or make a movie or something. But
absolutely.
That's how I ended up. And although San Jose State may not be known as maybe a powerhouse school or whatever, there were several guys who had a couple teammates actually who had played for the Niners. One guy named Sam Kennedy, linebacker. He was on that Super Bowl team when they played the Bengals a year before. And another guy named Greg Cox. So there were a few of us out there in the league, and a guy named James Saxon who was a running back who was coaching in the National Football League. So we have a few guys out there, David Diaz-Infante, who played in the league, and so we have a few guys.
What was it like playing in that Super Bowl? I mean, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, you're a part of that team. Just go through that. What was that like?
Well, it was, first of all, kind of back up a little bit, I'm sitting there in the locker room, I'm a rookie, and, I don't know anybody personally, but I'm sitting there, and, here comes Joe Montana walking in, and Roger Craig, and Ronnie Lotz, and Jerry Rice, all these guys that, from going to school in the Bay Area and being out there, seeing these guys on TV or sometimes seeing them out, and it was kind of, surreal to be in the same locker room, be on the same team with these guys who were all just, Pro Bowl, All-Star, All-World players. So that was kind of like, wow. I had to remember, hey, you're a professional as well. But it was kind of hard to sit there in the company of, great players like that, Steve Youngs. And they were good guys. All welcomed me with open arms, and so like I said, my rookie year went to the Super Bowl, and that was just a life-changing experience. It's a dream come true, especially as a rookie to be on a Super Bowl team. And of course, we went down there and beat the brakes off of Denver, 55-10. So
good job.
That was.
That 89 Niners team, if I had to make a top 5 of my top 5 favorite, teams of all time in the NFL, that team's probably going to crack it because, not only did you have the great offensive star power, the Ronnie Lott and that defense was vastly underrated. So that was a great team, and of course, and then in 1993, here you wind up in Kansas City, reunited again with Joe Montana. Well, talk about how you wound up in Kansas City and really just your experiences here, because you became part of an offensive line that is still renowned to this day. I have a T-shirt in my closet still that has, you, Zott, Shields, Grunhard, all you guys, man. So talk about your time in Kansas City and how that came about and just playing with all those great linemen.
Well, I came to Kansas City in '93 as a free agent. Got a call from the Chiefs. Actually, a guy named Lynn Stiles, who was our tight end special teams coach in San Francisco, had taken a coaching position here in Kansas City. And that year they had, actually that was '92, they had a bunch of injuries on the line. I think Zott was down and all. There was, a couple of their starters were down. They were hurting a little bit. And so I came in and worked out for them. And they liked me. They just felt it was too far into the season, to get me up to speed to come in and be effective. But definitely were interested. So I came back, '93, signed a deal with them. Had an opportunity to compete for a starting job, and that was Will Shields' rookie year, drafted in third round out of Nebraska. And so you have a guy on the, and when I was at San Francisco, they moved me to guard from tackle. So you're looking at a guy who played guard, moving back out to tackle. You have a rookie right guard from a running school that not really passed, known for throwing the ball, and then you have your veteran guys, Grunhard, Zott, and Big John all rounding out the crew. And we had great coaches, Alex Gibbs and Hall of Famer Art Shell, and just they were able to tap into our potential, just get us to work together. We were just we just took a lot of pride in what we did. Of course, Marty Ball, and Marty was big in running the ball, so that as a lineman, you take a lot of pride in that, and we were just able to kind of come together and gel, and then rounding out the crew, the cast that kind of brought it all together was a guy like Joe Montana, who still had some good years left in his career, and then Marcus Allen came in. So we had some very good key veteran leadership guys who were great performers, who we all respected and looked up to. And I tell people to this day, I said that '93 team was the last team that was the closest to getting to a Super Bowl since the Chiefs went to a Super Bowl. And we lost that championship game up in Buffalo, but it was just an honor to play with such great guys, and to this day I love that line. I thought we always played our hearts out, and a lot of great players, and it was just an awesome time.
All right, you brought up Marty Ball. I can't help but ask, but what you thought about Marty Schottenheimer? I mean, probably my all-time favorite coach, and what did you think? And maybe if you have some stories about him.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to share too many stories. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Marty was there's such a stark contrast coming from San Francisco, and the team. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to play for Bill Walsh. He had retired the year I had signed there, and it was George Seifert. But they kept the same philosophy, and so Bill Walsh's approach to training camp and practice was completely different than Marty's approach. Marty was known to work us. We worked hard. As he would say, bring your hard hats and lunch pails. We're going to go to work, and nothing wrong with that. It was just a bit of an adjustment. But Marty was very passionate about the game of football, and probably one of the most prepared coaches I'd ever had the opportunity to play for, because he is such an analytical person. He put everything in just a certain format, but Marty was all about preparation, so we were always prepared. We were never underprepared. He always had any detail we needed about the opposing team, about the opposing player. So we were very well prepared, and I like that approach with Marty. Somewhat of a perfectionist. perfectionist, and so he just, brought out the best in all of us.
All right, we had Benny Thompson and Tracy Green on a couple days earlier, and we asked them about Marty as well, and they seem to have a few kind of run-ins with Marty. Did you have anything similar to that, or?
Well, not necessarily run-ins per se, personally, but Marty would challenge you, and for me, kind of being a no-name guy, free agent guy off the street, if you will, or whatever you want to say, not a drafted person. Each week I had a formidable foe to play against, and played against some of the top players in the league, and the Howie Longs, and twice a year in our division, and Reggie Whites and other great players. And so Marty kind of had a way of putting a lot of pressure on me, although I already had enough pressure. But meetings, he would just kind of call me out and tell me, you got the big sombrero on this week, and kind of highlight that. And I took that as a challenge. And, I like that opportunity to step up and prove myself as a player, to play against a marquee guy that I, through media's eyes, didn't have a chance in heck to, or looking for a bad game or just to be dominated. And I can say, fortunately, I think I did a good job of holding my own against some of those guys. And, that was pretty much it. No run-ins for me. Maybe some other guys had different experiences, but, no run-ins, just constant challenges, and I think that's good, and to have, challenge your players and try to get the best out of them, and that seemed to work, for Marty when it comes to me, so I don't really have anything real juicy. I'm sorry, but that's kind of it. He was just, I will say this much, Marty hates the Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely knew that one. That seemed to be a point of contention throughout his career in Kansas City. And guys, if you're just joining us, we are here with Ricky Siglar, ex-Kansas City Chiefs guard, opposite of course, Will Shields on that famous line. Now, Ricky, another player I wanted to ask you about on the opposite side of the ball is Derek Thomas, Hall of Famer, one of the best linebackers to ever play the game. I mean, how was your relationship with him? How did you feel about him, and how did you feel when you learned the horrible news that he had passed after his car accident?
Derek was a special guy, athlete, whose talents just transcended, I think, beyond people's imagination. The interesting thing is, Derek, you have coaches or philosophies about you play how you practice, but Derek necessarily wasn't like the big practice like you play kind of guy. I think he was confident in his abilities, and so he didn't necessarily go out there and lay it on the line in practice, but he would show up on Sundays, and that was fine. We'd do a little what we call brother around. Hey, come on, work with me, I'll work with you, kind of thing during practice. Not trying to show each other up or all that good stuff, but he's a real stand-up guy. Did a lot of wonderful things in the community for Kansas City, and his name, his legacy is still continuing on. I was on my way. I was out of town. I was on my way home. I got a phone call that Derek had been in an accident and that he was paralyzed, and I didn't really want to believe it. It just didn't seem real. That, hey, wait a minute, Derek Thomas has been in a terrible accident and he's paralyzed, and so it was hard for me to grasp that whole image. And then, of course, hearing about his passing not too long after that, went to the ceremony, and it was just kind of hard to see a guy that you just always seemed full of life and full of passion, just a lighthearted, always laughing, always giving back to people, very generous person, excellent, outstanding football player. Just to no longer be with us, it was really effective. It just really hit home with me. It just made me realize how blessed I am to have my health and to live each day to the fullest.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Derek was still an active player at the time. It's hard to imagine. And one thing we haven't had a chance to talk to any offensive linemen until now, and talking to you, it's a hot topic now. You're talking about the pension in the NFL is not what it should be. A lot of offensive linemen are having ill effects from just being in the trenches for that many years and taking the pounding. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And do you have any lasting injuries that are hampering you now into your 40s?
Yeah, definitely. Football is a very, very physical, very brutal sport, and I think safe to say for most of the guys that play at the professional level. They didn't just start at the professional level. So you're looking. For me, I started Little League football when I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, and played all the way through. And so that's a lot of pounding on the body, and just that this long-term pounding creates problems and issues. Now we have the lights being shed on the concussion issue. And one thing I'd like to share with the audience is that one thing that we're kind of is inbred in a football player is to be tough and to play through pain and when you're hurt. And certainly at the top level, because it's such a competitive level and they're always looking to replace you with the younger and the cheaper guy, you really don't have that luxury to say, hey, I'm really hurt. I can't go. I mean, if you feel like you can go, you go because of fear of, being replaced, losing your job, or getting labeled as being injury prone. And, we have a saying, you can't make the club in the tub. So that being said, there's a lot of pressure. And so I think, like anybody would know, if you have an injury and you continue to play or push through it, you just make it worse. And over time, it may heal, it just doesn't get better. With age, it gets worse. So, we have the concussion issue. I know I've had concussions before, but I never reported them because I just figured, hey, I'll be okay. The dizziness will go away, the double vision will come back. And I mean, I've had this in games where I'm in the huddle and I can't even see straight, and I'm going up to the line to execute a play and hoping my head clears in time to execute that play, but never ever reporting that to the med staff, the trainers, just because I don't want that, oh no, he's hurt, he's got something wrong. And so I think a lot of guys play through that, and now we're kind of seeing the ill effects of it as guys are getting older. You hear about guys, memories are going, and you hear, of course, about the sad situation with the SAOs and guys who are committing suicide, and the level of depression is extremely high with retired football players and athletes across the board. For me, as I get older, the knees, the back, the neck, this joints are, you just have these pains. You wake up in the morning, you don't know. Some days you might wake up and you feel okay. Some days something might hurt for no reason. And so, it's just a struggle. And I think the National Football League needs to take some culpability in this and be fair in their compensation for guys, because after all, they have profited from us tremendously and benefited. I think they need to take care of us a little bit better.
Oh, definitely agree with you there, Ricky. So what are you up to now these days? I mean, I've seen you on YouTube. I've typed in Ricky Siglar, and there's some good videos on there. I advise doing that. I learned a lot of technique and everything. I just absolutely love the videos. We know you're with Myo Source and Myo Training. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I hooked up with a guy named Skip Eddy some years ago, and a guy named Marlon McQueen. They were introduced to me by a mutual friend. They had a product called Kinetic Bands, and they were doing some training with athletes. These bands are resistant bands that attach above the knee and allow you to do any kind of movements, like sports movements, agility movements, explosive movements. What they do is they target the quick twitch muscles, fibers that are responsible for speed and explosiveness. So I got on board, and we started training athletes. They had Myo Source. We developed Myo Training, started doing some videos, different athletes, different sports. And, of course, I put some videos out there, just some basic, fundamental blocking videos and things, pulling, just a little things that coaches can use at all levels. And so currently we train all kinds of athletes, any sport, females, male, and, we work on explosiveness and agility, and something I really enjoy doing. That's kind of my side thing right now. We're really trying to get it on a whole nother level. That's something I'd really like to do. I also, my full-time job is I'm a youth counselor. I work at a residential treatment facility for kids. I've always had a passion working with kids, be it if I'm coaching or teaching or just helping out troubled kids. I think it's always been important to me. Also work part-time with the National Football League as a uniform inspector, call me the Fashion Police. Make sure all the guys are on game day and compliance with the league. So those are kind of what I'm up to these days.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that you're still around and still in the eye. Now that the uniform thing's interesting because You used to see Derek Thomas wear that big gray shirt under the jersey. I don't think that would fly these days.
Oh, no, that costs me a lot of money.
Yeah, you see even the socks aren't right. I mean, what do you think of the new Nike uniforms? I like them, but I think, the backwards Nike logo on one side is kind of confusing, and there's a few little things even about the Chiefs uniform that I'm not sure I'm on board with, but Nike as a whole probably did a really good job, do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting used to them. Just a new look, and of course, a new company. Uniforms they're okay. They're okay. I wasn't in on the design process, or I changed a few things, but
Yeah.
I don't have to wear it, so it doesn't matter. Just as long as the guys can put it on and wear it the way that the league has mandated, it'd be wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Ricky, we're about out of time here. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We definitely want to have you back on again as the season progresses, and just thanks for sharing all these great stories with us today, Ricky. We appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me, and I'd love to come back on.
We will do it.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.